The average solo GP is dead. Being handcuffed to a practice that only makes money while you're drilling crushes your freedom. Being trapped at the office is no way to experience life. And doing more fillings and crowns ain't the answer to freedom. Stop it. Freedom comes when your practice makes money without you. Freedom is choosing how many days and how you dental. Ready to forge your freedom? Then keep listening to become a super GP and super CEO. This is the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Let's go.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to the Titanium Practice Podcast. I am your host and personal freedom coach, Dr. Stephen Freeman. How y'all doing today? Hopefully everyone is having a fantastic time. I'm recording this at the beginning of the year, and one of the things that I always like to do is kind of look forward into the year. And I actually start doing it at the end of the previous year of what it is that I'm hoping to accomplish. What is my road going forward for the coming year? And one of my favorite actual Christmas songs is the Christmas song by John Lennon. And he talks about, so this is Christmas, another year over, and a new one just begun. And it always makes me think backwards about my year. What have I accomplished? What have I done? And then starts making me think about the coming year as well. And whenever you think about the coming year, you need to have basically a general roadmap of what you're trying to do. And not even just for the year, but for your professional career and for your personal life. You need to set out basically where you are headed. If you write it down, it will happen. And I'm not going to talk to you about making vision boards and things like that, but you should have your goals written down. Where do you want to go? So what I'm going to do is talk to you about what I want to help you do. And so we're going to talk about the roadmap that I did for my personal career and what I'd hope to help lead you through in your mission, your journey towards freedom. Because just like you, I was tied to the dental chair. I was handcuffed to my office. And I knew that the general dentist, the solo general dentist model is dead. It's gone. Bury it. It's not going to work. And a lot of you have been trying at this for a very long time. And the definition of insanity is to keep doing the things that you've already been doing and expecting a different result. Obviously, a lot of you know that, but you keep doing the same things and you keep expecting different results. You need to change it up. You need to pivot from what you are doing and change your practice. It's amazing to me, and we'll talk about this in a future podcast, but when we think about the things that we should be applying our time and attention to, we typically end up applying it to the wrong things. It's like what we're afraid of. A lot of people are afraid of flying. It's the dumbest thing in the world when you think about it. It is the safest way to travel, and yet people are afraid to get on an airplane and fly. People are afraid of going into the ocean because they think they're going to get attacked by a shark. Do you know more people die from toaster accidents each year than shark attacks? You'll make a piece of toast in the morning without thinking about it, but a lot of people are scared about going into the ocean. A lot of people are scared about getting onto that airplane, and yet it's the safest way to travel. It's crazy. But what you need to be doing is focusing your attention on the things that will actually get you results. Doing more fillings, doing another crown is not another step towards freedom. And freedom is what I really like to focus on, because what we're talking about is it's about freedom of time and freedom of money. Those two things together are when you truly achieve freedom. Freedom is when you have the time and the money to do what you want when you want to do it. If you do not have those two things, that's it. You do not have true freedom. So what we need to do is have a path forward. Now, there are a lot of consultants out there that like to talk about becoming a CEO and moving away from doing the dentistry so that you can grow the practice. I am all on board for that. The problem is that if you jump to that phase right away, one, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to be a CEO. I didn't know how to be a CEO. You got to learn to become a CEO. The other thing is that if you just jump to being a CEO, there's going to absolutely be a learning curve in doing it because you don't know what you're doing. And so then all of a sudden your income drops. Is that something you want? Do you want your income to go down right now? No, you don't. Inflation's way up. You need more money in order to be achieving your goals. So if all you do is say, well, I'm just going to cut back and start learning about all these things about how to grow the business, eventually that's going to work. They are correct. It will absolutely grow the practice. If you want to answer the phones better, it will absolutely grow the practice. If you want to focus on certain numbers about how to grow the practice, it will absolutely happen. But man, there's a lag time. There's a massive lag time to it. And anything that you want to do, anything that you want to change and improve that business, you're going to have to put some work in. So you have to choose a path that includes putting in the work. You know this. You became a dentist. You went through school, college, dental school, maybe a residency. You put in work. So there's that wonderful book, From Good to Great. And so it's very difficult when you are doing okay to move from okay or good to great. There's a certain amount of comfort that you get in the grind, in your rut, that makes it difficult to make that leap to great. Partly is you don't want to put in the extra work. You're tired. Man, that's like the number one thing that has created from COVID was everyone seems tired. Followed quickly by I don't have enough time, but I think it's more of just being tired. And I don't know if it's a laziness. I don't know if it was sitting on the couch for 3 months and it basically just shut down our minds and we just cannot get past that as a society now. But everyone seems more tired than ever. So any path you want to go to improve yourself requires some work. So if all you do is say, I'm going to learn how to be a CEO, I'm going to learn important numbers that are going to drive the business and yada, 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 great, awesome. You're going to lose a lot of money doing that initially. So it's going to drop and then it'll come back up. So if you're prepared financially to do that and you're willing to do that, great, awesome. I can absolutely teach you how to be a better CEO. In fact, I like to call it becoming a super CEO. And the reason for that is that you're not just a CEO in the fact that you're running a business, you're also running a family. You are in charge of creating experiences for your family, of creating experiences for your team. A lot of the people on your team have never even left the state that you live in. I don't know if you've ever asked that question, but if you ask them, I'll bet you'll find out way more than you ever thought was possible of the number of team members that you have that have literally never left the state that you're working in right now. The first time I worked at an office and heard this, I thought it was crazy. My family, we didn't travel very much as a kid, but at the same time, we still went some places. We still left the state. I got to vacation a lot in Cleveland because I had family there. Awesome. You're in Cleveland. Now, I love Ohio. So all you wonderful Ohio folks and Cleveland natives who may have just gotten angry at that, tell me you don't want to be somewhere other than Cleveland when you're going on vacation. Because I've been to Cleveland enough to know I would like to go somewhere other than Cleveland for vacation. So you need to be creating these experiences for your team members. And that's not really what we're going to be focusing on today. But the idea of becoming a super CEO is, well, super important. It is important that you realize that you run more than just a business. You run your family's lives. You're the head of your household. Whether you like it or not, you're the head of the household, and you are in charge of that household, and you need to be making sure that those people are having experiences and they're having a great life. You're also responsible to do that for your team members as well. Obviously not to the same degree. I'm not telling you that you need to be taking them on every single family vacation you go on and every experience, but you need to be creating experiences for those teams. It's amazing for culture, but you're also doing them a gigantic favor in the fact that you're creating a great environment for them to be working in. You want to talk about retention? It's going to help out a lot. But the roadmap overall of what we are going to talk about in the titanium practice is the fact that you're going to have to put in work. And if you want to take time to become a CEO and learn how to become a CEO, awesome. You are going to see an immediate dip in your income and you're going to put in a lot of work. What I propose that we do is this. I looked around when I was trying to decide my path forward and said, I want more money, not less money right now. I can't imagine anybody listening to this in this moment that wouldn't rather have more money than less money. So if the amount of work that you need to put into this thing is equal, you're going to have to learn new things. You're going to have to put in some work. Why not actually increase your income right now rather than decrease your income? So I said, what I am going to do after a very, very, very long time of saying I am never going to place implants, I decided I was going to learn how to place implants. There was a surgeon near me who kept sending me not so great implants. In fact, multiple times I needed to be able to actually restore the teeth around the implant in order to be able to get a restoration on top of the implant. And I said to myself, I'm sure I can do at least that quality of work and place an implant. Fortunately, I feel like I've done even better work than that, and everyone has a bad day. So that's not to crap on that guy and say that he's terrible at what he does and things like that, because he actually does a lot of good things as well. But the number of times that I would see that, I'd say there's no reason I can't do this. So I learned how to place implants. I also learned that ortho really isn't that bad if you find the right patients, have someone to help you, and you know what to look for and what to do. So I became kind of a GP orthodontist. While I also looked around, I said, well, look at that. Root canals really aren't that hard to do if you have a system to do it and you know what you're looking at and you know what to do and you have someone helping you do it. So in a way, I became a specialist. I became a super GP. And we're not really going to be focusing on All on X, which a lot of people want to talk about doing super GP stuff like that. I'm talking about the low-hanging fruit in your office that you are referring out every single day and losing a gigantic amount of income from not doing 80% of the stuff that you're referring out. Because I promise you, you can do 80% of the stuff that you're referring out. And after you learn how to do these things, you'll get more comfortable at it, and you'll pick up the other half of that 20% that you're still continuing to refer out. 10% of it you'll just never ever want to touch. It just sucks. You just don't want to do it. The patient sucks, whatever. The tooth is hard, whatever. Does not matter why, but you'll still continue to want to refer some of that out. But how great is that? Send those really hard ones right on down the street to the specialist and let them take care of it. You do the things that you can do, and I promise you right now, you can do 80% of the stuff that you are referring out right now. You are referring out minimum of $1 million a year right now. I promise you, if you did the math on all of it, you are referring out $1 million a year of dentistry. You can do 80% of that. Let's do some math. 80% of $1 million, everyone says $800,000. You are going to net 80% of that $800,000. That's how the math works. Because you're already covering the overhead, the majority of the overhead, with your general dentistry office. And that's when it becomes wildly profitable. Wildly profitable. So now we're talking about some big time money at that point in time. You're talking about big time money at that point in time. And so even if I'm wrong, and if we reduce those numbers a little bit, and we roll back some of the percentages and you refer more out, or your net ends up not being as much, we're still talking about $500,000 a year net. Net. Not production. Not any of that. Net. In your pocket, $500,000 a year. So what I did is I had those specialty procedures, and then eventually I personally became too busy, so I brought in an associate. You don't have to bring in an associate, but that's what I did. I brought in an associate. You can keep all that money to yourself. But for me, what I was looking for was freedom of time and freedom of money. Adding those specialty procedures to my practice that I was doing, kicking the other 20% plus down the road, all of a sudden gave me freedom of money. Massively profitable practice at that point in time. Because I'm doing the general dentistry and I'm doing the specialty stuff. Well, guess what? I got sick of doing general dentistry. And honestly, I've never really enjoyed general dentistry. I haven't. I've enjoyed other things about dentistry. Surgery is pretty cool. Cosmetic stuff's pretty cool, but normally the patients who want cosmetic work are normally pretty damn picky. Meanwhile, you got Mr. Jones sitting in your chair who's got these really ugly teeth, and it'd be like, you know what would look really good is if you didn't have ugly teeth, and I can do that for you, and they wouldn't be picky at all. But the people who want to do cosmetic makeovers are normally picky. That's a whole nother story. But all of a sudden, you've got a wildly profitable practice, so I brought in an associate, and I became the GP. Or I'm sorry, the super GP, the specialist. So you can almost think of it as having a specialist in your office that can do all the specialties and an associate that was doing the general dentistry. Now, did I lose a little bit of money? No, actually I didn't. Because what ended up happening is I was getting so busy doing the specialty work that I wasn't really focusing on the general dentistry and I wasn't really hungry to do it. Watches. Everyone likes to watch things. Good Lord, please don't watch things. But watches were becoming a thing in my practice, or reevaluation. Let's look at that next time. So that it became, when I brought in an associate, that associate wanted to produce. So all that stuff that had been watching, the stuff that I probably would have continued to reevaluate when I didn't really want to do the general dentistry anymore, all of a sudden was now being done. Now all of a sudden, the production on the general dentistry side actually went up, and I was still doing the specialty work. I didn't lose one red cent bringing in the associate. And I know many of you are just so fearful of that. And we do so many, or I should say we don't do so many things because we come at it from a position of fear. I'm here to tell you, if you do it along these steps, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because you will see your income come up. You will find that you don't have time to do all of it. And that's fine. You can end up bringing in a specialist. If you build a specialty practice, you can bring somebody in to do that specialty work. If you really prefer doing general dentistry, awesome, great. You stay being the general dentist, but now you have something to provide to somebody else that can go and do that specialty work. Because there are others who, the number of resumes that I get that of these super GPs is it's crazy. I had no idea so many people wanted to do it. I always kind of thought that you were going to get a dentist who was, they were just coming in to do general dentistry. But there are a lot of associates out there that you can find that are looking to do all the specialty procedures. They don't want to do general dentistry, just like me. I don't want to do general dentistry. So I guess I shouldn't really be surprised, but that's also what started me on my path of saying there are other people who want to do this to their practice. So let's go tell them how to do it to their practice. So again, where we're at is the fact that step 1, recognize the fact that the solo general dental office is dead. Step 2, what are we going to do about it? We got to put in some work to get to freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of money. You can choose to become a CEO. Great, awesome. I say wait on that, but you're going to put in work to do that and your income's going to dip. Or you put in some work and you become a super GP and you add these specialty procedures to your practice and you become wildly, wildly profitable. You bring in an associate, and even if there is a little bit of a dip, who cares? You're making so much more money now. And you're doing less work. And then, when that all happens, then that's when you can really start to scale back how often you are actually going into the office. You'll go from minimum 5 to 4, but you'll just keep walking it back. Just keep walking it back, and you'll find out you can do all of that stuff in a day. You can do it all in a day. So now, going back to that number I said, a low number in my opinion, $500,000 a year in 1 day of dentaling. That sounds amazing to me. That sounds like we now have freedom of time and freedom of money where you need to dental 1 day a week for $500,000 a year. Because how many days a week are you dentaling right now for what you were making? And it may be over $500,000 a year, and congratulations to you if you are. That's awesome. But how many days are you trying to do that on? You're probably doing that on 4 or 5 days a week. So your dollar per hour is going to soar doing this. So we brought in our associate. We now have the ability to scale back on how often we have to go into the practice and actually dental. Now you've got the time to learn how to become a super CEO. Now you have the time. One of my favorite sayings is small hinges swing big doors. Now you have time to look at the numbers and have the ability to make gigantic changes to your office by being able to focus on the numbers in your office. Now this whole thing is going to get blown up from here and become amazing and have a ridiculously profitable practice at that point in time. But at no point in time has your income ever dipped. And many, many consultants miss this point. They tell you that you can just move away from the chair and become a CEO and things are going to be great for your practice. They will in time. They will in time. But do you want to see your income dip first before that happens? Because you're putting in work one way or the other. You're still going to have to learn how to become a CEO. Why not learn to become a CEO and that super CEO that I want you to become when you've got the time to do it? When there's going to be no drop in your income at that point in time. So at that point in time, you can focus on building a great practice. You're also welcome to say, I never want to deal with an associate. You know what? Associates can be a pain in the ass. I love mine, but they can be a pain in the ass. I mean, it's just like your kids. I love them, but man, they can be a pain in the ass, right? Anyone who's a parent knows that. So you may not want to deal with that. Well, fine, great. You can still have this amazing practice where you're going in 1 day a week and making a lot of money, and you're free to go do whatever it is that you want to do with the rest of your time. You may say, well, great. Let's keep chugging down this path and let me go do it again. Let me go open another office. Let me go buy an office and do the same thing. You've got the recipe then at that point in time. I'm going to help you with that recipe, and once you have it, you've got it. And you can repeat it as much as you want. And so you never have to dental again. Or you just go around opening offices, or at least getting them started, or transitioning them when you buy them. You open another office, and another office, another office. Or you just say, you do what I did. I had a couple offices for a little while when I would just have one location, one large location. and you just build a giant building and you just fill that one building because it's one place to go. There are so many different paths that you can go on. What I'd really like to see you, though, is create an office that's wildly profitable without you there. That is the goal. That is the mission. Make money while you are doing something fun. It's the coolest money you can possibly have. By far. It's way better than anything you'll ever do in dentistry. Making money while you are not there and you are having fun is the best money you can make. And you can do it as much as you want. You can do it as much as you want. So you don't even need to decide where you want to go today. If you want to just continuing just being a specialist the rest of your career, hiring associates, multiple practices, buying practices, just one large practice, whatever you want. You do not need to decide that today, but what you need to decide is that you understand the difference in the path forward. Simply become CEO, drop in income, work to be done. Become a super GP, increase in income, work to be done. I chose the path because I thought making more money and putting in work sounded better than making less money and doing more work. But that's what I would encourage you to do, to make that choice of saying, all right, I'm willing to put in some work. Why don't we make a couple of bucks while we do this? So what I want to help you do is step one, become a super GP. 80% of the stuff you are referring right now, I've already said it obviously, you can be doing in your office right now, and you'll see a gigantic increase in your revenue and your profitability immediately. Immediately. And this is stuff you can be doing tomorrow. I mean, really, if you dive into it and you get going, awesome. But at the same time, I say if you're going to want to change what you're doing because you don't want to be insane and keep doing the same thing you've been doing and expecting a different result, and you know you're going to need to put in work, then let's step one, become a super GP rather than trying to become a CEO right now while you don't have time to do it and you don't know what you're doing and your income's going to drop while you're trying to figure out how to do it. Let's make you a super GP. And then step two is you decide. Step two is you get to decide. As I said, do you just want to be the specialist and just forget about your general dentistry part of your practice? Certainly welcome to do that. Maybe you just like having a shit ton of money now. You're like, hey, let's roll with this. Great. Awesome. Maybe you want to get into the whole thing of multi-office and multiple locations or a big office, whatever. Don't care. But I will help you get there, and I can help you with any option that you choose to do because I've done them all. I've done them all. And I'm not going to choose for you for what's right because my giant office with like 50 people running around in it is not for everybody. But I also know I didn't like going to multiple locations. Every solution has its own problems, and I'm not going to sit there and debate that with you about what it is that you want to do or which one you think sounds best to you. But you need to decide at some point in time what you want to do. But today, you decide the fact that you want to move to step one, and we will worry about what step two looks like when we get there, because for everybody that's going to look different. And that's okay. But the good news is no matter what, if you move to step one, the ultimate result is basically step three of profits. Money. Freedom of time, freedom of money. That is what I am dedicated to doing, is giving you freedom of time and freedom of money. So I would encourage you to head on over to titaniumpractice.com, download our book. That has got the steps as far as doing the first specialty work. You learn how to do implants, endo, ortho, some other cool things in there. And that is where you get started with that. From there, if you ultimately want to sign up for our coaching programs, you can certainly do that. We have group coaching, one-on-one coaching, got some monthly calls in there for you to help guide you along your way along this journey and along our way to freedom. That's where I'm going to take you, and that's what we can do for you. Okay? So I am dedicated to your freedom. If I can do anything to help you, please head on over to titaniumpractice.com. Emails info@titaniumpractice.com. And I would love to be able to get you to the point where you have freedom of time and freedom of money. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please be sure to join us on future podcasts, all right? Have an awesome day. Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Please hit the like and subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Titanium Practice. Questions or comments? Send an email to info@titaniumpractice.com. Join us next time to help turn your average practice into a titanium practice.